and welcome to the road to 50 million. Today, I picked this powerful picture. The sun's shining, and it's hard to tell what kind of a person that is. Looks like a warrior of some kind on a horse, and there's a castle turret there. You know, if someone is in that kind of position, they didn't get there accidentally. They didn't just show up, wake up that day in their armor on a horse, ready to do what appears to be difficult things. I don't know what your goals are. Today's Friday, January 5th or 6th, I guess. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. January 6th, 2023. So this New Year's already 6 days old. Now, for me, my first quarter's coming up to an end on the 14th of January, so I've got 8 days. And that bears directly on this road to 50 million concept. On October 14th, 2022, I made a declaration that I'm going to help 50 million people discover, develop, and serve with their divine gifts. Now, what does that even mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. I didn't start these videos that day. I think today's day 56 or 57 or something. And it's a few more days than that, probably 80 days. So I didn't start it for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, it looks like. But here's the thing. I felt spiritually impressed to do that. My calling as a coach is to help everyone I can. Period. Some of them pay me, some of them don't. Some get into long-term arrangements with me, some don't. I had a conversation with a delightful person yesterday on a person I'd never met. And every week my calendar's full of half a dozen people I don't know, at least half a dozen. Think about that. I get to meet at least half a dozen individuals, one at a time, that I don't know every single week. That's hundreds in a year. And it's not like a networking meeting where we just say, hi, I do this, you do that. Okay, here's a card or a virtual card or whatever. It's not like that. It's face-to-face, individual, and I get to learn to love that person, to love them for what they're doing, to love them for what they're about. That is such a delightful blessing for me. Because my purpose in life is to help as many people as I possibly can understand that they're divine. You are divine. You have a purpose, you have gifts, you have talents. That's true whether you want to believe it or not. You're valuable and precious whether you believe it or not. And I say it that way because there was a time for decades when I didn't believe much in myself. I believed any success I had I didn't deserve. I believed that I was fundamentally flawed and that something was really wrong with me. So I know what it's like to not believe in yourself. And that's one of the reasons I do the work that I do, is because I want to help as many people, you right here, right now, believe in your own capability. You have infinite capability. Now, what does that mean? Sometimes you hear that kind of stuff a lot and someone says, well, how come I can't just conjure up $1 million right here, right now? Well, infinite capability doesn't mean that. It means that you have the ability to create what you want. But the steps of creation are the steps of creation. Even God creating the world took steps of creation, right? Didn't wave a wand and it was all done. It was days, and we don't know how long those days were. So you right here, right now, have the ability to create anything you want. Wealth, health, happiness, joy, prosperity, impact, income, all of that is in your hands. Now, the only question is the steps of creation. Today's road to 50 million is about habits of power. And my commitment, starting October 14th, And coming up here in 8 days is my first quarter ending. My commitment is to help 50 million people to understand this truth that I'm teaching about your divinity, about your ability to create anything you want, and then to discover their own gifts and to do something about it. Because so many people, well, it's too hard. Well, it's not my season. Well, I can't. Well, I don't, whatever. I don't, my situation doesn't let me. All the excuses in the world. That doesn't change the power that you have. It just means you're ignoring it. It reminds me of a quote I read for the, I don't know, millionth time yesterday that's attributed to Marianne Williams, but I think it came from Nelson Mandela. Anyway, it said, our deepest fear is not that we're powerless, but that we're powerful beyond measure. Well, you are. The question is, what are you doing with it? I mean, right? That's what matters. You have that power. Power to do good, power to create, power to be rich, power to be influential, power to love, power to make a difference, power to create good in the world. You have that. So the question I want to talk about today is what I called habits of power. Because studies say something about us doing 85, 90, I've read different numbers, but some huge percentage of our activity in any given day is habitual. It's just habits, and that can be fine if your habits are good, and terrifying if your habits are grumpy. So if you have a habit of eating lousy food, at one time in my life, I think my favorite food was a big slab of cheddar cheese slathered with Miracle Whip. Well, needless to say, in that kind of habitual eating, it wasn't very long before I was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 pounds overweight. And that was in my late 30s. And so I had to lose that if I wanted to have a different life. And I did. I enrolled again in a local martial arts studio and went to work. And over a year, I did it the hard way, exercising twice a day. It used to be once a day, and then I plateaued and had to go to twice a day, and worked on martial arts and on and on and on. And I lost the 90 pounds, and I got in extreme shape and earned my black belt and broke bricks and boards and everything else. And the reason is because I changed the habits. I went from habits of destruction to habits of power. And that's the question. Because if you want to serve with your divine gifts, if you want to make business, you want to make money, you want to make a difference, if that's what you want, then you have to have habits of power. You can't do it with habits of lazy, habits of sloppiness, habits like I had of that poor eating. Those won't get you to the top of your mountain. They just won't. Those habits don't go there. So let's talk about what habits of power are and how to get them, right? And this comes, I'm not saying what I'm going to tell you is the only way in the universe. What I am telling you is this works. I did it, and I've repeated it with myself and with people that I work with, clients and stuff. All right. So first of all, discover what your habits are. Like, do you have a habit of staying up late and watching TV and going to bed later than is healthy? There are studies that show an hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours afterwards. So that means go to bed early and get up early. Early to bed, early to rise. That saying came from somewhere. There's a habit. Do you have a habit of eating well or eating poorly? And those are external habits, sleep and food, and there's a bunch of them. Do you exercise? Do you take care of this physical body that you have? I have, became so sensitive to that because, you know the story. 4.5 years ago, I died. I lost 35 pounds in a coma. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I could barely breathe. My lungs were destroyed, and on and on and on. And I had to learn all that over again. And that was just in 2018. So yeah, that's coming up on 5 years ago, but that's still pretty near term, right? When you're 67 like I am. So I pay attention to taking care of the body. So body is just one thing, and it's not even the most powerful piece of the habits of power. What is the language you use when you talk to yourself? Do you have a habit of being critical? I don't know. This is just for you to answer. Do you have a habit of apologizing all the time? I know there's some people that I talk to, and I'm thinking of one in particular that I love dearly, and every third or fourth or fifth thing is, well, I'm sorry, and about whatever. It doesn't even matter. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, this isn't. Sorry. And because they're a dear friend and I love them, I often will say, stop apologizing. Either accept what is, or if you don't like what you did, then do something different. But repeated and sort of meaningless apologizing, it doesn't make anyone else feel anything. And what it does is it makes you feel bad about yourself. You become the person who never does it right and is always apologizing. Well, that's not a habit of power. So, one habit I want you to or I'm inviting you to pay attention to is, what's your self talk? How do you treat yourself? If your best friend treated you like you treat yourself, would that feel good? I don't know the answer. Most of the time, it's not true. Like, you wouldn't allow someone to say things to your best friend that you say to yourself all the time. You'd get in their face. Hey, you can't talk, da, 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 da. You defend, you jump to defense. Like this guy in the armor here, you'd jump off that horse and wave your mace around. You can't talk like that. Well, but you talk like that to yourself. All right. Here's another one. Do you keep your word to yourself? This is a huge one, because I can't tell you how often and how many, I used to do this. This all comes from my own learning. Do you keep your word to yourself? Do you make promises you don't keep or can't keep or don't even intend to keep? Lots of people say stuff just to end a conversation. Yeah, I'll do that, huh? And they don't mean it at all. Well, here's the consequence of that habit. You lose your power. You don't believe in yourself. You know that most of what comes out of your mouth is ill-considered and at best, and at worst, just a lie, an untruth, meant to ease a conversation or redirect something or do whatever. But what you learn is you can't trust yourself. So that's a habit of terrifying weakness. And it makes you worse. It makes you not believe in yourself, and on and on and on. So a way to change that habit is to speak less. Slow down and consider intentionally every word that you say. Is this true? Do I mean honestly what I'm saying? Now, that will mean, to start with, that you talk a lot less. And that might be a good thing. I don't know. But consider all of your words. When you get to a place where 90% and then 95 and then 99 and eventually 100% of what you say is truth, if you speak only truth, that is a habit of infinite creative power. If you speak only truth. Part two of that, another habit of infinite creative power, is to do everything you say. So if you slow down and say less, and everything you speak is true, and then you say, okay, I have said that, so I'm going to do it, and you do each thing that you say, you'll discover, one, you say less and commit to less, yes, but you'll then be a person you trust. Other people will trust you too, because every time you say something, it's true. That's wonderful. It's most important that you trust you. You trust yourself. You know, without question, every word comes out of your mouth is true, and you're going to do it. That's a place of power. That is a habit of power. Another corollary to that is, I think of it this way, and I remind myself, it's part of my daily check-in. I do what I say. Part two is, I am who I seem. Now, in the day now of social media, where people post their highlight reels and everything that's cool about themselves, and sometimes they're failures, but a lot of times they're success and coolness on social media, and they present the idea that's who I am. Is it true? I am who I seem. Telling the truth to yourself and being who you seem to be is another habit of power. It means that when people meet you in person or they see you online, that it's the same person. You feel the same. There is truth and authenticity there. So I'm going to talk about one other habit of power that I find maybe the most important, and that is a daily creation process. I get up every day and I intentionally do things to create myself. And what does that mean? My body already exists. Yeah, but by exercising it, I create health. By feeding it well, I create well being. By meditating and studying, I create a feeling of possibility and opportunity. So, having a daily creation process is a habit of power. If I can help you with any of those things, truth, daily creation, that daily creation process might be the most important thing I do because it reminds me every single day, 365 days a year, every day, who am I? What am I about today? And these days, I'm only about one thing, and that's this road to 50 million. I'm committed to helping 50 million people, you right here, right now, discover your gifts and serve with them. That's all I'm doing. If there's anything I can do to help you discover your gifts, serve with your gifts, make money with your gifts, create joy in the world with your gifts, I'm all in. I'd love to chat with you and I'd love to hear about it. If you're willing to help me reach 50 million, then share this with somebody. Share this video, share this encouragement, share the ideas about creating habits of power, share the feelings about your own capability and your choices to do good and add good to the world. As always, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. And I love you for every good thing you're trying to do in the world, every yearning you have. Follow your intuition, serve with your gifts, love yourself. And I'll see you tomorrow on the road to 50 million.